Welcome back, everyone, to episode 29 of the Tricks and Traps Speedrun. So I'm coming into today, rated 1662. And before we get into the chess today, I have a quick message for anyone that is in St. Louis or visiting St. Louis. For those of you that don't know, the US Chess Championships and US Women's Championships are taking place over the course of the coming couple weeks. And you can come by and watch in person. Ticket sales are very affordable, and I'm going to be at the chess club this Friday and Saturday, October 17th and 18th, to play any and all challengers that come by. I'll also be doing some Q&A and some guest commentary. So if you want to meet me and also get some free snacks and beverages while watching some top-level chess, I do highly encourage you to check it out. Link to tickets will be below. And with that, let's hop into the first game for this episode. Okay, first opponent playing UCJA. We'll play pawn e4. And we have a king's pawn. And you know what I'm feeling like? It is October. I was ready to play a Halloween gambit. Sack the knight on e5, but pawn a6. Knight takes e5 is not at all necessary here. Black is probably preventing the Roy Lopez, but I'll just play a Scotch, pawn d4, and it's basically a Scotch opening up a tempo because a6 isn't so useful for black. Knight e5, okay. Let's just develop and attack. This is what we call developing with tempo. Black retreats with tempo, so attacking my bishop. And yeah, I should probably move the bishop again. Bishop g3 makes sense. And so far there has been no need to gambit or do any crazy tricks. Sometimes developing the pieces naturally is the best way that will lead to tricks and traps. Bishop b4 is very natural, pinning my knight to the king. And now it's a question. I mean, do I want to do anything about the pin? I could just keep developing. Knight f5 looks interesting. To attack g7. And then there's queen f6 defending and attacking. I'm just going to keep developing. Bishop c4. Want a castle as soon as possible. And then probably storm the f-pawn. There's also queen f3 to consider. Queen f3, but black has ways to defend. So I pretty much completed all my development. Black moves the bishop for a second time. And I really want to punish my opponent's play, given that they've moved their knight 3 times, their bishop twice. The king is still in the center. Maybe now is the time for knight f5. And then if takes and then takes, I'll be threatening the knight, probably gaining even more time. Yeah, this looks pretty good. And now with queen f6, I have a very strong response, knight d5. So black does go for the trade. And with this capture, my pawns are doubled, which means a file opens. Rook e1 is very likely to come soon. There's also the idea of queen d5, potentially threatening mate and the b pawn. So maybe black will return to the center. It goes to e7. Now, I mean, rook e1's very natural. There's choices here. I mean, there's knight e4, there's queen g4. Queen g4 is a pretty direct attack. Yeah, let's go for queen g4. Just curious how black is going to defend g7. So it looks like the only moves to defend are either king f8 or g6. Both of which look kind of awkward. Like g6 weakens the dark squares. King f8, of course, loses castling rights. We do see king f8. Queen h5 threatens mate in 1. I mean, at this rating level, playing moves like queen h5 don't always lead to much. Like black has ways to defend. There's queen e8 or knight h6 or even g6. I would like to be a little bit more tricky. I think knight e4 is maybe the most effective. It has the idea of trading off one of black's only developed pieces. If I can take and then get my rooks to the center, life will be very good. But there's also the idea of knight g5, maybe more effectively attacking f7. Bishop d4. Okay, so that attacks. The bishop is maybe vulnerable here. Knight g5 would unleash the queen along the 4th rank. So I'm basically attacking d4 and f7. And I'm not sure if black can defend both. And if I can take on f7, that's a fork. So it's looking very, very good. And d5 is maybe the best try. Obstruct the diagonal and attack the bishop. Bishop takes b2 also is a move. Now I have a choice. I could take with knight, which is probably what most people would do. But taking with bishop sets up the fork. Yeah, I'm going to take with bishop. Because the prospect of knight e6 is really, really nice. And the king has no legal moves. So to avoid the fork, black probably has to move the queen. Maybe knight f7 was better for winning material, but I think this is probably better for like a quick mating attack. I would really like to play knight e6 and win g7, but the bishop does defend from a distance. So, okay, we see queen b8. Interesting. Yeah, what's the best way to do this? Queen c4. I could take the knight. Oh, this is kind of tricky. Bishop h5, but then g6. But then check. I really want to play bishop h5 threatening mate, but g6 might kind of hamper my fun. Knight e6. Oh, but then I take twice. Okay, I'm going to play bishop h5. Very simply threatening checkmate in 1. Oh no, my rook. Yeah, at first it looked like g6 traps the bishop, but then I can play knight e6 and take on g6. And probably still have a mating attack. And this is mate in 2. Knight f6 does kind of fork me, but it obstructs the bishop from defending g7. King is forced to g8, and that's mate. Okay, yeah, pretty one-sided game. My opponent did resist. Like, I actually thought it might be easier given the opening. They did violate some opening principles with a6 and then moving the knight and then the bishop multiple times. And hopefully goes to show just how to play against such an opening as white. Just develop efficiently, get the king safe, and then go for some attack later. And it worked out very nicely. So, okay, that brings me to 1670. Let's keep it going. Playing something. What do I want to do? Let's play a Scandi. I haven't played much Scandi this series. The main move is queen d5. I'm going to play knight f6. A small sideline. And then take on d5 with a knight. And this is actually a common amateur mistake, is conceding the center like this. Because now the queen is hard to remove from d5, and I can develop very actively. I don't know if I want to commit to e5. I probably do, though, because now white has to worry about pawn e4. And the plan going forward is probably to castle queenside. And if white castles kingside, I can have some potential attack. Pawn d4 is interesting. So maybe trying to liquidate a bit. I do see one potential trap that if takes and then queen takes, I have bishop takes f3. And that wins material, I'm pretty sure. So if I take and then knight takes, do I win g2? I think I'm winning material. E4 is another consideration, but then knight e5. Yeah, let's go ahead and take the pawn. Yeah, at first it seemed like white has everything under control, but the fact that I'm pressuring g2 and this line doesn't quite work. Okay, so white just castles. Interesting. White's ready to maybe take next with the knight because g2 is defended. I'm still looking for ways to be tricky. Knight c6. Take. And if I take on d4, I lose g4. Yeah, interesting situation. Ideally, I want to keep the pawn alive. But I'm not quite seeing how to do it. Like pawn c5 might backfire, then I'm behind development, and white probably wins back the pawn anyway. So knight c6, take. What if just bishop e7, take, and then h5? Maybe that's like the most aggressive way to play. Oh, do I have bishop d6? Even more aggressive. Take and then take. Oh, but then take is with check. I'm conflicted here. I'm going to play bishop e7. Maybe not the most aggressive looking move, but I'm giving white the option to take back the pawn. Again, there's this trick, if takes, I take on f3. But now I'm realizing that might not even work for me. Take on g7. It could get very messy. Then I take on e2, I lose my rook. I bomb cloud my king. And the simple option would be to trade queens there. Bishop e3, wow. So the pawn is pinned. Not much I can do about it. If I play this, again, there's c3. So maybe just knight c6. I'm staying flexible which side to castle. Yeah, knight takes d4 is natural. I'm going to take on e2. Expecting knight takes e2. And I don't really want to trade queens. But it's kind of a question where my queen should go. Because if I go here, then the knight will harass me and still offer queen trade. Yeah, I'm not seeing a great option here. There's queen a5. Queen e5 gets hit by the bishop. My pawn is loose. So what to do? Maybe queen c4. As weird as it looks. Maybe I can swing over to h4. Like if b3, queen h4, and then if g3, white might be weakening himself a little bit. Well, my king's still in the center, so some risk. I'm not quite ready to castle queenside with the queen controlling d8. But I might be ready for rook d8. Or even bishop d6 first and then castle. Yeah, I'm going to play this first. This does a few things. First of all, it obstructs the queen, so it prepares castling queenside. It also pins the knight to the pawn. So I'm not scared of knight f5. Of course, I get my king off the e-file now. There might be queen h5. Okay, queen f3. I was thinking queen h5, bishop g3, and then queen f5 check. But this is also a move. Yeah, this is a hard-fought game so far. f7's attacked. I think I'll just play f6. Looks very natural. And I'm ready to perhaps migrate the knight to the king side. Like knight e5 and knight g4. White is maybe ready to bring the knight back to f1. Very safe setup, defending h2. This could be a very sharp game. Like, as long as queens stay on the board, then like my goal will be to attack on the king side. White might try and attack on the queen side. At some point, I might just slide the king over. c5 is in the air. So bishop e5 is maybe preferable. Attacking the rook. Centralizing the bishop. Maybe looking to use the square on d4 for the knight. Yeah, rook d1, good move. And now what to do? It's actually not an easy position to come up with a move. Like, I don't really want to take and surrender the file. I might start with g6. Which maybe looks weird at first, but it restricts especially queen f5. And maybe at some point I want to play pawn f5 and pawn f4. Like, pawns on light squares will complement my dark squared bishop. And also when the player has, or when the opponent has such a solid setup, then sometimes you have to be a bit more patient. Okay, can I go for this now? f5, b4, f4. Let's do it. I do loosen the bishop a little bit, but it's still defended by the knight. And now I do have pretty clear intention of pawn f4. Okay, the knight retreats. I gotta watch my time too. I'm gonna move back to f6. Maybe just focus in the center. Knight d4 very likely coming. Let's play this first. If b5, then I'll play knight d4. I play g5. Or bishop c3 even. And g3 is solid. I'm not sure. Okay, let's be aggressive. I'll play g5. Sets up ideas of g4 or f4. Knight d4 attacks the queen. We can trade a bit. So I'm down a couple minutes on the clock. But I have a very nice bishop. A so-called wooden shield. There's a lot of tension with the rooks on the center files. I'm realizing white might go for this idea, after which I might be incentivized to take. There's also queen d5, which is scary looking, but then rook d8 will support the bishop. Okay, if I take, I get forked. So I have to play this, I think. Which actually looks nice, restricting this knight. And now I play this. And now there's some X-ray vision. If white's not careful, I might have bishop takes f2 as a tactic. Like if queen f5, we trade and then bishop f2. It's a winning endgame for black. So yeah, white correctly retreats. Let's play this. Attacking the c-pawn. I'm wondering if I can get away with like h5, sack the pawn, and then g4. Sack the other pawn, bishop f2. Might be too much sacking though. Okay, I think that's the first big blunder from my opponent. Take on g4, and it's still not completely over, although if I take... There's also f3. f3 allows knight g3. Take, check, go back. I think this is actually the cleanest. Because I'm threatening mate in 1, white has 1 check, but then after king c8, there's no more good checks. I think the only way for white to stop mate is to give the knight, but then mate is still probably coming. Yeah, very hard fought game. Big kudos to my opponent, who I think played much above their rating. But maybe this is also a sign I'm reaching kind of a new level where my opponents are not going to be giving me the game so easily. The pawn takes its mate. If king g2, I probably just take. Okay. GG. Yeah, let's definitely analyze that. I was feeling quite good out of the opening. But yeah, trading on d5 is very comfortable for black. Usually the better way to play this position for white is to play bishop c4. Just attack the knight. I'd probably play c6 and then queen f3 is a nice active line. But let's see what happened in the game after takes. And yeah, this moment white played d4. It's actually one of the best moves. Castling is the best move. Okay, bishop e3. Not the best according to the engine. Engine likes h3 here. But yeah, it's a type of position where white is just going to eventually win back the pawn, and I just have to develop. And that's pretty much what happened. Going forward, just going to check if there were any big swings. I think overall it was like pretty solid for both of us. I was able to at least get some good piece harmony. Engine does not like g5. Says I should have played bishop c3. Because if rook e2, I win the rook, and if takes, I take back. The rook's attacked. I didn't go for this because rook d1. Oh, but knight e5. Black has good initiative. Okay. Yeah, what happened in the game? White was slightly better around here. But maybe misstepped a little bit. And yeah, queen b3 was a big blunder. Position is good for black. White can resist more with rook c1 and defend the pawn. But yeah, fortunate game for me. Managed to keep the win streak alive. Brings me to 1678. Let's do another. Okay, black again. This time we have d4 and e3. So this is a maybe the beginning of a stonewall. I'm going to play pawn d5. And if we have a stonewall, maybe a collie, I'll basically play a reverse queen's gambit. I think one of the most active ways to play. I do have a feeling f4 is coming. But a3, okay. So this is a bit strange. a3 is sometimes preparing pawn b4. I'm just going to focus in the center. Expand with the e-pawn. Getting a nice space advantage, nice development. Good piece harmony. White's going to try and be solid. Knight f3 is very likely coming. I'm debating here how to complete development. I would like to be aggressive. Let's start with queen e7. Just aligning with the king. Maybe keeping the option open of castling queenside. Which sometimes is not what you should do when you've committed the c-pawn like this. But I'm feeling aggressive, so let's castle queenside. We'll make it sharp. Like this is a good setup for a kingside attack. White's playing pretty quickly. h5 is a very typical move. Like supporting the bishop, in some cases a h-pawn storms down the board. White's being a bit passive with bishop d1. Of course, trying to reinforce f3. At the same time, White's kind of conceding control over e4. Looks like I have knight e4 here. Queen b5, wow. So White's still moving very quickly. I could kick the queen. I'm already looking at forcing lines with taking and queen h4. Seems kind of close. There's also taking on d2. Let's imagine knight takes, and then queen h4. Actually, that looks pretty fun. So let's imagine takes. If the bishop takes, I take and double White's pawns, and that should be a very strong mating attack. And if knight takes, then the knight's no longer helping defend. I have queen h4 threatening mate. If g3, probably just queen h3. Yeah, let's go for this. And if bishop takes bishop, then I'll have a lot of fun. Also here, I think I have bishop takes h3. I'm just throwing the kitchen sink at my opponent. If takes, I'll either take back or maybe rook h6. Both moves look good. Let's see. Let's see if there's a standout. Like if I take on h3, then I'm ready to move the knight and threaten mate. If I play this, I'm ready to play rook g6. I don't think there's a huge difference. I think I'll just take here first. f4. Okay, so allowing this. Yeah, I'm realizing if I play this, there's knight f3. Maybe White's defending there. I'm going to take a moment here. Rook h6. Take. Check there. Don't even know if that's mating. If I take on e3, king g2. Yeah, this is tricky. Rook h6, take, check, king f2, rook g2. I'm actually not sure about this. I'm going to trust my instincts. Rook h6. I like the prospect of lifting over. Down a piece, now down 2 pieces. Even thinking bishop takes e5 here. Let's calculate. Check here. Check. Oh, it's force mate. King e1, queen g3. Okay. For some reason, I didn't see this from a distance. I was calculating queen e3, bishop e2. But sometimes when you get closer to the position, you realize the best path forward. Okay. So I guess I stressed a little bit figuring out the best attacking sequence. Definitely worth analyzing with the engine. Let's see what Stockfish thinks of my attack. Says black is just winning in this position even before I sacked. But says I should take on f3. Takes. Top move bishop c7, maybe calmly preparing the battery, or even rook h6 first. But I went for knight takes d2. Yeah, this is all good for black. Okay, yeah, it was always better for black. Sometimes it's scary sacking material though, where yeah, if you're not mating and you're not winning back material, then there could be some risk. But yeah, never let the grip slip away. So that brings me to 1689. I think I'll do one more to wrap up the episode. Playing match 0117. Let's play e4. I do want to play a Halloween Gambit if I get the chance. But unfortunately, we do not have a 4 knights. We have a 3 knights. And here I think I can just go for the center fork trick. Kind of like a reverse version. If takes, I have pawn d4. And if this, I'm also very happy. Pawn d4, kick the knight. Taking over the center. Looking to play bishop c4 and rook f1. And black's checks with the queen, I don't think do much damage. Queen h4, I have pawn g3. Queen f6, I guess I have to be a little bit careful. But I think it's just king g1. King g1, there's knight g4, I'm realizing. But then I have to be really careful because this is a threat. If I take the knight, I get mated. So maybe king e1 is actually better. Like very often the king is safest on g1. I guess there's king g1, knight g4, and then queen d2. Yeah, weirdly enough, like after knight g4, queen d2 is the only move I see. Unless I'm missing something. I'm going to play king e1. I think this is safer. The other benefit of king e1 is the rook can come into play quicker. Of course, I can castle, but yeah, with a half-open f-file, I'm just a couple moves away from making the rook happy. Probably bishop c4 here. Rook f1 is on tap. There is some calculation. Rook f1, queen h4, g3 attacks the queen, f7 still attacked. If takes, yeah, that looks very good. It's probably leading to a trade of pawns if black goes for this line, but it should be a very good trade of pawns because then black's king is going to be a target. Take with check on f7. And queen f3 very likely to come. Actually, depending where the king goes, I might have bishop g5. Bishop g5. Knight e7. Yeah, I actually don't think it makes a huge difference. I'm kind of leaning towards starting with queen f3. Because I didn't want to give black the chance of having rook f8 to pin my bishop to the queen. And now with knight e7, I don't have to play bishop g5. Like I might take and then play bishop g5. Might be more accurate. I should note I am sacrificing the c2 pawn, but it's not a pawn I really care much about. The queen can't really do much damage from c2 if it lands there. Yeah, just double checking this. I think this gives me some nice initiative. This also prevents any near future prospect of rook f8. And the plan going forward is bishop g5, knight d5. So material is actually equal here. But I have good center, good piece harmony, ready to pounce and hopefully win material. I'm not sure what to expect from black. Like maybe bishop e6 is a decent try. We see queen takes c2. So b2 is maybe the next victim. But again, I don't really care that much about my pawns. What I do care about is my king. Like rook h2 shouldn't be a big deal. Let's go for this. Yeah, rook h2, I can take on e7 with check. And then there's some line like king d7, queen g4, king c6, and then a fork. Okay, rook e8. Now it's time to have some fun. So I'll take the knight. If rook takes, I have this. Actually, queen f8, rook e8. But I have this. I guess queen f8 doesn't lead to much. Okay, so let's go for this. And now, is it force mate? Queen f8. I guess there's king d7. So check here. Again, black's going to escape through d7 and c6. Yeah, moments like this, it's good to kind of calculate before just giving the first check that you see. I'm actually thinking queen f7 here and then check on g8. Here. Then rook f7, king c6. Okay, I shouldn't take too much time. It's just frustrating. I'm not seeing like a super clean win. Queen f7, king d8. Any quiet moves? Yeah, I'm a bit tied down to e4. Check, king d7. Take on g7 here. And then check. The king kind of just slides away. Okay, I have an idea. Check here and then take. I allowed this, but then king d2 and black has no good checks and I'm threatening rook f8. Let's start with this. I'll just make sure that actually works. Black has one legal move. I'm still spending time. Okay. Queen f8, king d7, rook f7, king c6. Oh, do I have some d5 check? Okay, change of plans. I'm gonna go for this. I'm realizing I can take the pawn with check, play d5, and then continue to harass a king. Check again. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the cleanest way, but I'll check after the game if the engine finds something better. So black has 3 legal moves. King b5 is maybe the most annoying. Okay, but now I have check. Yeah, I was thinking king b5, a4, and then king a6. Yeah, here probably rook f3. Threatening some kind of checkmate. Or at least a check. King b5. Maybe there's still no forced mate. I guess I'm threatening rook a3, king b5, rook b3. Black is making a safe place for the king. Is it time to just trade queens? I don't think so. I think I'll play this. Attacking the queen. Lining up on the c-file. And then if takes, I can check, and then here, and then check, and then here. Maybe it's still not forced mate. It feels like I'm getting closer. Yeah, one legal move. I might need to bring my other rook into the attack. Check. Yeah, let's play queen c6. And then queen a4. And then rook c1. Wait a minute. Am I threatening mate there? Queen a4, king b7, rook c1, bishop g4. Then it's mate in 2. Okay. Check. Yeah, when in doubt, attack with everything that you have. Setting up the rook battery. It's another game where, like, it felt like I got a very good position early, but opponents at this rating level, they make you work for the win. And this opponent was no different. But the win is getting much closer. Rook c7 is very hard to stop. I imagine my opponent might develop the bishop and then allow rook c7 and queen e8. Okay, goes for this. Honestly, maybe that's the best way to resist even more. But now it's cleanup time. I'll take on d6. And I'll go after b6. It can't be defended. Should be made in 2 or 3 more moves, or yeah, resignation. Okay, good game. Kudos to my opponent for fighting on from a difficult position. Definitely some things to analyze. Again, this is a very useful opening to know if you play this as white and the opponent allows a center fork trick. I should note I've seen players go wrong where they try it, like they try the center fork trick in this position, and this doesn't work because the bishop is hit. So for anyone watching, you can't do the center fork trick when your bishop's on c4 like this. But with the knight developing to c3, then it works nicely. White's already considered to be better here. And what happened in the game? Queen f6 check. I didn't play king g1 because this looked kind of scary. Yeah, queen d2, it gives white the advantage, but it's the only move white has to not fall victim to this queen check. So I opted for king e1, also fine. And then, yeah, I just want to see if I had anything better. Like, I took time here looking for the cleaner win. The engine actually likes rook f2. So chasing away the queen first. Maybe if the queen leaves the c-file, there's more potential for the other rook to come into c1. Yeah, rook f2 I didn't consider. I was so focused on these forcing lines with the checks. Again, rook f2. But I was able to maintain control. And yeah, the major pieces proved to be too powerful. So, fun game. I think I'll end it there. Rated 1697. So hopefully next episode I can break 1700. Thanks everyone for watching. As usual, if you like the content, do subscribe. It does help the channel. And again, if you're in St. Louis in the coming days, do check out tickets to the US Championships. I will be at the St. Louis Chess Club this Friday and Saturday afternoon, October 17th and 18th. So see you there. Do comment below if you're going, and stay tuned for the next episode. I'll see you guys soon.